All right, let's have a look at how to set this scene up right here. It involves the mannequin along with some generic motion capture that I found from Mixamo.com. It's from this right here. And our mission is to create a little string to attach the hand to this mannequin character. And we'll establish a base pose, something that where the mannequin is sort of lying relaxed on the ground. We'll use some gravity and normal sort of contacts for that. Then we'll continue to make a new pose for when he's hanging up here, sort of a starting pose, a little more alive. And then we'll transition into doing normal keyframing on the mannequin bones so that we can get some poses while he's hanging. And then finally we'll animate the stiffness of the overall character, the group settings, to make him return to a relaxed pose. Alright, so with that, let's clear this scene and we'll start from scratch. So I got the Mixamo clip ready. I'm going to load that now. And this is the character, which is the one that you just saw. And we'll also get the default mannequin asset. You can use any character for this. I'm just going to load this one because I have it ready. In this case, it's much too big, so let's start by scaling it down to something around here. And because the character was so large, now he is so tiny, which means that now gravity is going to be much too tall or much too strong. So he's acting as though he's 10 times smaller than this. So let's change the solver settings for this. So just set the scene scale to 1 because this mannequin character and the Mixamo character are now in sort of real world scale. This character is probably about 180 centimeters. Let's have a look. Yeah, 180 meters tall. So the scale is there's no scale, so a scale of 1. Great. All right. So now he'll fall as though he is of that actual size. So the next thing to do is we need to establish sort of a base pose because I want him to get picked up while lying on the ground, and at the moment he's standing. So I think the first thing we can do is just to let him fall naturally, and maybe pick a pose that we like this one, for example, and then we can just assign. I want to transfer whatever pose he's in right now into back into my mannequin armature. So ragdoll, snap the simulation, and now the armature is going to be where the simulation is. So now when I return to the start frame, bam, he'll start right there. The next thing is probably to maybe shuffle him over a bit. Just going to move him to a position where he's more likely, more reasonably picked up. So it looks like over here, but also the hand is much too high up. So I'm just going to move the character up as well. Something around here, probably around here-ish. We're going to modify this pose because I actually want him to get picked up from the back. Like the string that we're going to attach is going to be attached to the back of him. So, well, let's do that actually. If we go into the manipulator tool and go into live mode, we can just start fooling around with the pose until we find something that we like. In this case, I really want him to be lying on his stomach, something like this. Maybe something a bit more natural with the arm. Something like this. There we go. Pretty relaxed. So I'll transfer this. So now the mannequin is looking at that instead. Alright. Okay, well, it looks like we got some leftover keyframes. Let's just, I just want to remove one of them. And with all of them selected, please. There we go. There we go. So now we have a new rest position. Let's now make a little string that he can pick up. So I'm going to use another armature for this. You can obviously use any sort of object. Like maybe you already have a rope rig or a string rig of sorts. So in edit mode, just make a, something. It doesn't have to be very exact. We can make a couple of segments, maybe like this. And then we'll select and assign to this, just like we did for the original mannequin. The base, like the root, I don't want that to be kinematic. So right now it's gonna just act as though it's animated. That's not what we want. So let me go into here and change the behavior into something else. In this case, I'm going to use whatever the group is set to. There we go. So we got our string. Next, let's position the string somewhere around here. That looks fine. Just somewhere along the back of him. That's normally where a string to any sort of manikin puppet thingy would be attached. But at the moment they're not connected, so we can connect them in a few ways. Like we can make a distance constraint or an attach constraint. But in this case, I just want to make them parented to the torso, as though it was attached, just like the arm is attached to the torso. I want the string to be attached to the torso as well. So I'll go into the manipulator once more, select the child parent, and then I'll go ragdoll, edit, and reparent. And now it's going to be parented to the character. And it's also going to be struggling with the ground, which appears to be a bit too thin. Let's go into let's see. This is the ground. If I just scale you a bit, so to cover more, there we go. Okay, that looks fine. From here, we now have a rope or a little string, but it doesn't really act like a string. It acts like a rigid thing, and I don't really want that. So let's see if we can find the group for this string. There we go, bone R group. And I'm going to lower the stiffness for you quite a bit, because it doesn't really need to have much stiffness at all. Something like this looks fine. Alright, so we now have a string. Now we're going to make him pick up that string. So at the moment it's still not in the right position, so I'm going to just shuffle everything over. The manikin character and the rope. Just shuffle those with global. Something like here. Maybe a little more over here. So we'll switch between moving the entire character, and next I want to actually see if I can get this string to rest more realistically on his back. So again, I'm going to enter into the live mode and just see if we can fool around with this. Something like, oh, it's still not right. And actually, let's make the string a bit thicker, because if it's this thin, it's probably going to struggle. And we also want to make it heavier. I'll demonstrate why in just a moment. Let's see if we can find a pose first. Something like here. There we go. So now it's almost come to rest. I just want it to be in a position that's a bit more convenient. I want the tip as well to be the pivot of the. Well, let me demonstrate actually. So I'll transfer this pose again. So now we got our nice rope pose. Now when he picks it up, it's going to be from around there. But in order to pick it up, we need to also assign some markers onto the Mixamo character. Because right now, Ragdoll doesn't really know that this armature and this mesh exists, so we need to make it aware. So I'm going to enter into the pose mode and then start assigning to the Mixamo character as well. So you, and assign. And we'll do the same thing for the finger, assign, and the thumb. We don't really need the thumb, it's just for, it looks a bit nicer. The next thing we'll do is to, well, we can, it's not entirely necessary, but just for visualization purposes, I want to assign the meshes of the Mixamo character onto the markers that we have. Like the problem at the moment is that this is just one big mesh. So in order to assign individual meshes to individual markers, we first have to split them up. So let's do that. I'll make a copy of you, duplicate objects, and I want to bake the deformer into this particular pose, because I don't want him to, at the moment he moves in the same way that the original does. So I'm just going to apply the deformer. We can hide the original mesh, and now we have a static mesh that doesn't do anything. From here we can do a separate by loose parts, separate. There we go. So now we have a bunch of meshes, and we can start assigning these to our markers. So let's do that. Manipulator, shape mode, and we can start assigning replace mesh with you, replace mesh, and replace mesh, replace mesh, replace mesh. There we go. So now we've assigned meshes to our Mixamo character. At the moment, the Mixamo character is going to be simulated as well. So you can see here it's going to have some, I'm not sure it's very visible. Actually, let's get rid of our copied mesh. We don't need that. Just going to hide all these. Hide, 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 hide. They are old by now. And we can unhide the original mesh, which is you. There we go. So we're simulating the Mixamo character, so we're getting some nice sort of secondary motion, which is not exactly what we want. So in this case, we just want to inherit the animation from the Mixamo character. To do that, I'm going to go to the group, and I'm going to tell the group to be animated. So now all the parts of the Mixamo character is going to be animated. You can tell by the gray color. There we go. So now he comes down here and he touches the manikin, and I think he's probably gonna, yeah, see, he rubs it a little bit. So we're getting some interaction. So far so good. I'm actually going to disable contacts because we don't really need the contacts. We're going to make a constraint to attach these two characters, so it doesn't actually have to collide with anything. We can do it from here, or we can do it from inside the shape box right here. There we go. And in fact, we can disable it on all of these. It just avoids any intersection issues because we don't really care for intersections at this point. All right. And next, let's make a constraint. So it's going to be between the tip of the finger and the tip of this capsule. So ragdoll constraint attach. So now there's going to be an attach constraint between these two. And we can see that this little outline is the tip of the rope that we just made. So it's asking us to position the tip of the rope. So I'm going to put the rope, I want the rope to be here. So relative to the finger, I want the rope to be right there. So when we hit play now, we should see that, oh, okay, there we go. So it's trying to, you can see how it's trying to reach that position. It's not strong enough, but you can see that it's trying to. But in this case, we don't really care for the orientation because you see the tip of the rope now is looks like a kink. It's kinked, and we don't really care for that. We want the rope to just be a rope. It doesn't really have any angle to it. So for that, with the pin constraint, I'm just going to disable any rotation stiffness. So now only the rotation, only the translation is relevant. But even here, we can see that we're attaching the root of the finger to the root of the rope tip, and we don't really care for that. So we're going to make the rope tip into just a single point rather than a capsule, so that we make the pivot at the origin instead. So we can either make it a sphere and move it into place, or we can go here and say offset 0. So now we have a single position for the tip of this rope, which means that now when it comes down to pull it, you can see now he's pulling on the tip of that sphere instead. Okay, getting closer. You can see that he's being lifted, but obviously we don't want any lift to happen before he actually comes down and pinches the guy. So from here, I'm going to tell the attach constraint that at around this frame, I want stiffness to be, let's start with that value. Before that frame, I want it to be 0. So now there's no attaching happening until we actually go there and reach for it. It's still not good because it's too loose. So we can try and increase the stiffness for this. If we go back to this frame here, and let's try a value of 1. Like let's really go high. Actually, this is the wrong frame. Yeah, there we go. This is the frame. So a value of 1. Replace the keyframe. So now we're holding on to it much stronger. And this would be fine. we can keep increasing it. And we've also made the rope quite thick, so that the rope is quite heavy relative to the character. So we're on the right track. But what we can do is we can artificially make the rope more heavy, because the heavier the rope is, the greater the influence it will have on the rest of the character. So let's increase it. You know, we can have a look at what it looks like to decrease it. You know, if I have this selected, and if we make the mass much lower, now we can see that the rope is going to be even lighter, which means that it has less influence on the character. So now the character is really heavy. You know, even though the rope is the thing that's pulling on it, the rope doesn't have much to say because it's just too light. So instead we can do the opposite. We can say that you are twice as heavy as before. And now we will have, well, basically twice the amount of influence. So it's still a bit bouncy. Well, let's increase it even more, maybe 10 times higher. There we go. So now we're pretty close to a fixed point. Alright, so now we have a character. He's being lifted up. And it's happening at the right time. Perfect. Alright. I think the rope is still a bit like kinked. Like it's trying to maintain the pose that we originally rigged it in. So I'm gonna go to the group here and maybe set it to even lower. I don't want to use a value of 0 because I still want some. There we go. So now it's straightening out. If it's a value of 0, it's basically like infinitely smooth, like no friction, no internal friction at all, and that's just not realistic. Like nothing in this world has a value of 0. Even a string will have some friction as you bend it. Maybe like or even like a metal chain will still have friction in between each link. So there's always some value here. If you put it to 0, it's just not going to look right. All right, there we go. So we're lifting him up. The next thing to do is to well, first of all, I think he's a bit too alive. You know, he's kinking his arm like that. I don't like that. Let's see if we can get the group and give this an even lower value. Let's say 0.05. That's a bit closer. Maybe even 0.02. I just want it to be very, yeah, now he looks very, you know, dead, like not alive. He's passed out. There we go. So maybe around this frame, say over here, I want him to come to life. So we have a keyframe when he's on the ground. Let's put let's put another keyframe over here. If we go insert keyframe, if we go, can I insert keyframe menu? And I want to insert on location and rotation. So we have him just at a fixed pose up until this point, but then the next frame, I want him to be up here so we can start modifying that pose. So I'm going to go snap to simulation. So now we have two poses, one down there, and the next one is going to be up here. And actually for the pose up here, let's go into live mode and see if we can make him a bit more interesting. So at this point, we want him to wake up. And we can start by the head. Maybe we can lift the torso up. Now we're also changing the rope, but that's fine. It's not really going to affect anything. There we go. Something like this. I just want him to be alive again. So we'll give him some arm poses. Like what would he do if he were to come back alive? Come back alive. And he will kink his knees. He'll be like, what the heck is going on? Something like that. Alright, let's transfer that. And again, like this pose is not really relevant because we have the tip pinned with a pin constraint, so it's not going to affect anything. Alright, so now we have a pose down there, and we have a pose up here. And well, okay, let's restart this and see what it looks like. And oh, okay, well, it looks like we actually did change the pose of the rope down here. I should have saved that as well. I only keyframed the mannequin character. I mean, let's establish a new pose for that. I suppose it would be nice to not affect the mannequin when we keyframe the rope. Maybe something like this. Okay, yeah, there we go, that's fine. And we're on frame 1, I'm going to transfer that. There we go. So now we also have 2 poses for the tether, or the tether, the little string that we attached. Alright, so he's being lifted up, and at this frame we reach this sort of lively position that we made, but he's not really responding to it, because the stiffness is still very low. Like, the stiffness is supposed to make him look like a dormant, unalive puppet. So let's also increase the stiffness for the group right here, the manikin group, and the manikin group settings. And let's say at this frame here, a very low stiffness, but on the next frame, let's give him something higher. Let's start with 0.1. I think that's probably too high, but just so we'll see what he does. There we go. So now he gets into pose, and he's like, whoa, wakes up immediately. You know, probably a bit too fast, but well, let's give him. Let's also keyframe the damping, and maybe give him less damping just to make him a bit more jiggly. There we go. Whoa, whoa! He's like springing to life. maybe it was a bit too much though. Maybe we'll try with a value of 0.3 maybe. Yeah, this is something that you can experiment. How jiggly should he be? All right, this is pretty cool. So I would say at this point, let's animate the mannequin a bit so that he appears to struggle with his owner. So I'll hide ragdoll for this. So we don't really need to see ragdoll. I just want to animate the mannequin itself. You know, and you'll notice that we've simulated a bunch and set keyframes and stuff, but we haven't really appended any keyframes on the mannequin. We only set these 2 frames. So let's put some keyframes. Well, let's from here it will go down like this, something like that. Maybe the leg will go further up. All right, so something like this. So he basically come up and then start to fiddle about with his body a little bit, and let's extend the frame range to say 300, just so we can have him 300. So we can have him also come in, you know, back into a relaxed state. Let's say at this frame, well, let's play it back and see what it looks like if we get ragdoll back, and we hit play. He's being lifted up. He's coming into position. And then he starts to wiggle around. You know, so far so good. Looks pretty good. I mean, one thing I'm noticing is that we could have him face in this direction. Actually, I mean, I was expecting him to face the other direction so I can show you how to realign. He sort of happens to face the camera at this point. Let's say we want him to face in the opposite direction. It's obviously very difficult to manipulate the starting position and maybe tweak some stiffness parameters to get him to potentially aim in this direction instead. So the more easier sort of a trick to accomplish that, like if you have a fixed camera angle that you want to reach, is to use the rotate parameter of a pin constraint. So I'm going to constrain only the rotate channels, and I'm going to do it in a global way. So he's sort of like an aim constraint, like he will face a particular direction, but it won't actually affect the position. So to do that, let's find an angle to start with. Let's just, right here is fine. So if we select if we go back into pose mode, select the hip. So I want to use actually let's try and use the torso. It doesn't really matter, you can pick any pose to aim. I'm going to aim with the torso. Actually, you know what, maybe let's aim with the head. That will look a bit more natural. So the head will face in this direction, and then the head will sort of pull the body alongside with it. Well, I haven't actually tried that. Let's see. If we do constrain, pin, so now we have the head here in the position that it was at the time of making it. So now he'll, well, for starters, he will be pulled towards it. You can see the head is already being gently nudged in this direction. If we increase the stiffnesses, we can sort of get a better sense of what's happening. There we go. So now he's globally trying to reach this position. Now, obviously, that's not what we want in this case. We want to gently nudge, and we can disable the translate and only use rotate. So now he's gonna face in this direction globally. And if I were to, if I rotate this guy, if I rotate him, yeah, you can see how we're globally controlling the head, so you can dynamically sort of. But that's not really what we want either. We only want him to face probably more like in this direction. You know, something like this. In this case, the position is not important, so we can put this anywhere. So in this case, we don't really want him to look in this direction all the time. We just want him to look there gently, and it's not supposed to be visibly pulling him in this direction globally. So for starters, we want it to be a value of 0. And then around the time he gets picked up, let's say here, you know, somewhere where we can ease into the global sort of cheat force that we're using, and here looks decent, like other things are happening, so we'll mask our little global force while this other stuff is happening. So let's say from here to just a few frames forward, we'll apply a very gentle nudge. Let's start with a too big nudge first, so we can sort of see the problem and then address it. So here you can see in the beginning nothing is happening, and then as he's being picked up, it's a bit too large. You can sort of see how that works. So now it looks like he's being naturally held up, although I would say that the head is probably, it looks like he's alive now because he's being pulled so brutally. So maybe let's delay it a bit to when he's a bit higher around here. So now he'll still be not alive, and then I mean, now it kind of looks like he does sort of wake up, but maybe he's like not fully woken up, and then eventually he comes to life fully. Something like that. But I think probably in this case it would be more sensible to use the torso because it would be less visible that we're doing it. Because you see how now it's sort of, he's showing some signs of coming, sort of waking up. All right, we're almost done. So the final thing to do is to just give him sort of release him, or, you know, make him faint or something towards the end, like when he realizes that he's not getting anywhere. So again, we're going to go to the ragdoll group, and I'm going to keyframe here, and then on the next frame, just put this back to, again, a very low value. We don't want to set it to 0, you know, ever really. So let's say 0.02. I think that's what we had before as well. And with that, he should return into his dormant state, except for the head, which we need to disable as well. You can see now everything is dormant except for the head, which is still facing in that direction. So let's go back to the pin constraint down here. And when the rest of the body goes limp, I mean, we can do it before that as well. Keyframe this, turn it off. So now he won't be looking at that global direction. And that's it. So now we have our entire simulation complete. And from here, we can just record it back onto the character and call it a day. So let's do that. Ragdoll, record, OK. So it'll run through the simulation using the animation that we've made as input. And then on the next round, it will transfer that simulation back onto the keyframes, replacing the keyframes that we had. All right, and from here we can get rid of most ragdoll. We can just disable the group. We could even go as far as to unload the add-on altogether, because now there's no connection to the animation and ragdoll anymore. It's all plain keyframes. There we go. So we even got some nice string simulation happening on the second armature that we made. And here's the final result. Hope you enjoyed.